Welcome to Robertland. That's right, your favorite not safe for work comedy theme park podcast. And I'm your host, Robert Thompson. And here's your co-host, Rossco Soletrain.
Oh, yeah. Boy, man.
Man, well, this is just terrific to have everyone here. We're going to talk all about video stores and their legacy with Mr. Josh Robert Thompson.
Hi, everybody.
How's it going?
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
This is great. We've got Josh here, and we've got Mr. Jackson Banks.
Howdy.
Two friends of ours, just great talents, and also big fans of videos and video stores. Yeah. So, holy smokes,
both have
man.
9-inch penises, too. It's crazy.
They showed
true.
it.
That's how we linked up, actually.
Yeah.
We're in a chat
the
room.
9-inch penis club.
Yeah, we felt pretty disparaged by having 9-inch
That's
cocks.
how I discovered you guys both,
each
too. I was browsing Chatterbait for 9-inch cocks, and you guys both popped up. And
yeah, we just so both happen to like video stores, and we linked up.
It's always the unassuming thinner guys, ladies. It's always the unassuming thinner guys.
If I don't care what you think, it's because of this giant schlong.
Yeah.
If I care too much, it's because of the giant schlong. It all comes back.
I think penises and video stores do have a lot in common. I mean, there was a section in the back that my dad would sneak off to.
Oh, yeah.
Dad.
Yeah. So, okay, video stores. I mean, what was your first experience that you can remember at a video store that, like, something about video stores that you really enjoyed, Mr. Ross?
Okay, well, this is going to be I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I feel like all of us are at a certain age that we can appreciate video stores, and they were instrumental to our growth as a person.
Yeah.
And I still, when you find the random video store out there, it's like you just get so excited. Like right now, they're going to be opening up Vidiots.
Right.
Like 2 blocks down.
Yeah.
Which Vidiots is I think they're going to have like 50,000 movie titles. It's going to be sick.
Yeah.
So
what format are they going to? Is it going to be like all?
I think all formats.
Laserdisc, VHS.
No, they'll have everything. Yeah, I think they'll have.
Damn. See they got to tap into the niche of the love of each individual medium. You know what I mean? Like this, it's nice to just hold the brick, like carry it around.
Yeah.
Totally.
And shit.
Yeah. But I would say that the main thing that pokes out about video stores in my memory is when I went to rent Deer Hunter as probably a 10-year-old or a 9-year-old boy.
Oh, Christ.
Because somebody told me that it was a great movie that I needed to see because I was obsessed with like Vietnam movies at the time.
Sure you were.
82 birth date. So yeah, like I just loved. There was this crazy neighbor that was from the war.
Oh, he was a vet?
Yeah, and he was fucked up.
Right.
So I was always wondering who is this guy wearing fatigues all fucked up? Like, who is this guy?
Did you have a special friendship? Like
No.
Not like that, but I mean like...
Hey, come here. I'm going to tell you a story about the time I plugged the zipper head with
Did you ever know that? That's what he said. That's
So
what he
Yeah.
I mean, he was like, this guy was like too far gone. So
Okay.
yeah, there was no.
So it was like a mentor. They didn't. I
No.
just like this idea of this guy telling you stories.
Yeah, he didn't teach
like a
you.
little kid.
I don't know if
Did
you guys
he
ever
teach you
had.
Russian roulette?
Show you how to clean a gun.
There was a guy in the neighborhood, this guy Jerry Bart, who was that kind of dude.
Okay. All right.
And I remember him lending me a VHS with I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was a movie with Gene Hackman, and he was some kind of like covert soldier, Rambo-esque. Don't know the movie, but I do remember this guy lending me this.
You better watch this.
Yeah. So, but the main memory I have from video stores is when I went to go rent Deer Hunter, and the guy at the video store said, "I don't know if I can rent you this." And I said, "No, it's fine." And then he called my parents, and my mom said, "Make sure you have a note that's attached to our account that says that I can rent whatever I want."
Wow.
What a great mom.
Oh, so you got the note.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I got
that's
the note.
amazing,
Yeah,
right?
I could rent whatever I wanted. Yeah.
So from then on,
I watched whatever the fuck
you
I
got
wanted.
a pass because the
I
note
did.
was there.
Yeah, my mom took me to see Pulp Fiction when I was 12,
Hell yeah.
That's right.
or maybe I was 11. I think it was
So
11.
she was dialed in. She was a cool mom, you know.
She I think I remember her saying something to the effect of that it was a very important moment in cinema. Yeah.
To a 12-year-old? Damn,
yeah,
who
or
is this
11.
woman?
Yeah.
I want her to be my mother.
Yeah,
I'm going to replace the old model.
Yeah, she was.
Cinephile, man. That's
Well, yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like, she's not really like a hardcore movie buff,
right.
but I think that because I was so into the VCR, and she could sense that I think that she just said, go for it.
Right.
You know, even though I was getting in trouble at school for my language, you know, because I worshipped Axel Foley.
Sure.
You know.
Talking about dead N-word storage at the schoolyard. And
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
So, Josh,
My principal loved that though. For some
oh,
reason.
I bet. Oh my God.
That's amazing.
So did you have a video store in Parma that you went to?
I grew up in Cleveland.
Cleveland,
and then we moved to the suburbs, Parma, Ohio, which is a lot of plastic pink flamingos on the front lawns, pierogies,
Oh yeah.
and a lot of Polish last names, a lot of Szymanskis and Slawinskis, and but. What happened was at the corner of my street, a new video store opened called Network Home Video. This is in 1986, 87, right? So this was the first time that our family bought a VCR. It was 86, 87.
Mm-hmm. Very expensive.
We didn't. It was about $700,
Yeah.
and I remember it was in the window, and they used to sell them at the video store. They used to have
Mm-hmm.
them on display. Get your $700 VCR and this collection of movies, each only $37. They were even more than that.
Like
You know,
$100.
It was like the Aliens Deadly Spawn, only $89.99 for some piece of shit.
That's why they had video stores in the first place. Because
Yeah.
this used to be a big fucking deal.
Huge deal.
Yep.
Like you could rent VCRs.
You could
as
rent
well
VCRs,
From,
I remember that.
Curtis Mathis was the place where you could rent. You can rent a recliner, a TV, and a fucking VCR. You can rent an entire home. And so I remember going there, similar to your story, when I was probably 11 years old, and I went into the store. And I wanted to rent a bunch of horror movies, and it was Amityville 3D, which, by the way, is not in 3D, which was a huge disappointment when you were a kid, because they didn't figure out yet how to transfer these to 3D, and are they going to give you the paper glasses, and does your TV can it even do it, right? So you'd take it home. It was Jaws 3D, Amityville 3D, and every time the movie would start, it would say, "This movie has been formatted for your television. It is not in 3D." And that's a crushing blow to an 11-year-old.
Oh yeah.
So, because I'm going to see some 3D titties
Yeah.
and some 3D mayhem. But I remember bringing like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Exorcist, just a stack of horror movies up to the front counter. And the guy working that day was the son of the owners. It was an older couple, but their son was filling in that day. And I had tried in the past to rent these movies, and they'd always turn me away because I was too young. But the son was this guy that had like a brown V-neck sweater with long sleeves. He was smoking a cigarette in the store. He had a tiny little mustache, and his sunglasses were tinted yellow, and he had feathered hair. This kid didn't give a shit about anything other than doing this stupid job for his parents during the summer of, 87. And I set this stack of tapes on the counter, and I say, "I'd like to rent these." And he takes a drag off his cigarette, and he says, "I can't rent those to you." And I said, "Okay." And I started to take the movies back, and he said, "You have to grab the tag that's underneath the boxes." And I went, "Oh, hell yeah." So I put all the cover boxes back, got the little tag that would hang off of like a, little pin, right? A little push pin hanging on the bottom, and I'd bring him, and he let me rent all of them.
Fuck yeah.
It was the greatest moment of my life,
Yeah.
because I finally got to watch some of these forbidden gems. But the one that I wanted to rent that entire time was called The Return of the Aliens Deadly Spawn. Okay, that's the full title of the movie. Now, the actual title of the movie, and we'll get into this later, is titles on VHS were constantly changing, especially if they were foreign movies, like from Italy. An Italian horror movie would have at any one time like 15 different titles. So this movie was actually called Deadly Spawn. But to cash in on Aliens, they retitled it Return of the Aliens, and then in small print, Deadly Spawn. Mm-hmm. So I rented that movie, and I'm so glad that I did, and I'm so glad that I was able to watch it, because it is a gore fest like you've never seen. Practical effects, an incredible monster with like 7,000 teeth.
This looks amazing. I'm
It
just looking at the
is
poster right
truly, and it was shot on 16 millimeter. It's low budget, and it is fantastic. Of course, now it's received the full treatment on Blu-ray and special editions.
This
and
looks
4K.
amazing.
You have to see it if you have. But anyway,
Yeah.
thanks to Network Home Video, and that really made my life.
Oh, I
as a
love
kid.
it.
I didn't realize I owned the Deadly Spawn.
Do you really?
Like someone had gave me this thing from like an adult toy store, and I thought it was just a novelty
Oh, it's
thing.
the actual figure?
Yeah, I own Deadly
Oh,
Spawn. I
shit.
had no idea. It's
looks-
this three-headed. It's like a scrotum with teeth.
It is, yeah.
This is very similar to the monster in Jackass 4.
Oh, is it? Okay.
No, they're thinking about Deadly Spawn when they take those
someone
bull
must have
heads.
seen Deadly Spawn.
Oh,
This is great. This is fucking great.
So, I like growing up and finding those weird oddball movies was always. I loved the gamble because you didn't know what these movies were going to be. Like, there was no. Other than word of mouth.
Yeah, well, and
the
guy, and you pick up these weird ass movies, and the guy behind the counter is like, "Fuck yeah!" Like he's like stoked on that movie,
Right?
You know that. But what I will say, one thing is that you never found that at Blockbuster.
No,
never.
I know. See, I'm wearing this jersey because it's a fun throwback, but I was more of a Hollywood video guy or neighborhood. I mean, not neighborhood video stores. Was where it was at.
It's giving me PTSD, dude. I worked there for 6 years.
Yes.
you?
So Josh,
I'll tell my stories.
Yes.
Not to bury the lead. Hi, everybody.
Whereabouts were you working in California? Or
Yeah.
It was?
I was in Orange County. I was in Brea.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So I got a lot of stories, but yeah.
Oh, I
But
can't wait.
you couldn't find the stuff that we're talking about
No.
at Blockbuster Video
No.
at all.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna touch on all this stuff because I got a lot of things to say about Blockbuster.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. So, and also, yeah. Anyway, interesting. But what are some of your memories from? Now we'll just go around the table.
Yeah. Well, there was a video store in Chino Hills where I'd be from, where I met Mr. Josh here doing local TV. But there was a place called Home Video.
Oh yeah.
There was Home Video, and then there was a
Video Box.
Yeah, or Video Box was another one. Yeah, and they had a big selection. They had Faces of Death was one of the films there.
Yep.
They had a huge. I would say that the porno section was bigger than the video section itself. And I remember finding some really just colorful horror flicks and ones that I'd never seen before. There was something about the horror movies' art. The art of the horror film, it jumped out. And it's so funny because you'd rent some of these movies and they wouldn't live up to the box, but I still always appreciated just the art and how it grabbed you, especially as a kid.
Yeah.
Because it was like, this is it. This is the shit I want to see. This is the infantile, fucked up. And sometimes
Frankenhooker.
You're
like, I want to rent this.
That's a great movie.
Classic.
But I remember going to that video store, and I remember when you'd go into a video store, it was a journey. You had no idea, and it was always a drag when you couldn't quite find one that was up to what you wanted to see. It was always, I don't know, but there's always something.
I always found.
Yeah,
something.
there's always something in there. But there, I think when the home video left, and then it was just Blockbuster. Yeah. It was something had died. There was, a big. Something missing in Chino Hills.
Sure.
Yeah.
There was a whole
void.
Chino Hills.
Yeah.
No more video store.
Yeah.
The place was actually, it was called, wasn't it Home Video?
Yeah, Home Video.
Wow.
And then
they would just come up with like, oh, this is my business. What's the name for it? It was very literal. It was like, we'll just call it Home Video.
Yeah.
That's the name of the store.
Yeah.
Perfect. Or Video Box.
And well, the last of the dying breed was it was called Chino Hills Video, and this opened way later. And we had actually shot stuff for a project that will never see the light of day. Hopefully someday.
Someone will find it. They'll put it out there.
Yeah, and it was this. It was Lost Woods. It was with Kamel. We were in this video store in the porno section, and our friend was Lucifer in a scene we were doing, and we were in there, and it was this nice dude that ran it, but he had like a younger brother that was like the co-owner, and I swear to God, I heard that guy fart like 30 times.
Right.
Every time I go in there, he'd be just farting up a storm. I think he had Der Wiener Schnitzel. We just did an episode on Der Wiener Schnitzel, but
that was actually a whole different. That was last week we did that.
Oh yes,
yeah.
that's
It's
right.
still with
Yeah.
you.
It was that good.
Yeah.
It was that good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I
But,
decided to wear my podcast outfit for this week.
It's
Every
Oh,
pod,
that's
it's
nice.
this
Oh, yeah.
It's good.
Great.
It's so that way the paparazzi can't sell the pictures again of you as you're coming in and out of podcasting rooms.
Yeah. Clearly, it's from the same day, but it's actually a different day.
Right,
7
of course.
days later.
Nobody could do two in
So,
that.
Jackson, you have some really interesting. You had an interesting upbringing with video rentals.
I did. So my first exposure, you had this set up, and I demanded that you put aliens here.
Yeah.
I took you aside and sort of was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Because this was the second R-rated film I ever saw. So I grew up Mormon, so that's no R-rated movies, definitely not. But thanks to my divorced father and him my love meaning more to him than God's love, he was able to break that covenant and rent me Alien and Aliens and Predator and expose me to my first. And these are the tamer ones. They don't really say fuck that much, and there's no titties and stuff. So he was able to compromise a little bit and go into this limbo gray area for my love. So yeah, that was my first exposure to R-rated content.
How old were you when you saw Aliens?
I think I was 8.
You were 8.
Awesome. Yeah.
So what were you thinking as you were watching it? I mean, did it feel like it was this forbidden thing? Was it exciting?
It wasn't. I mean, because my father was condoning it, so it didn't feel forbidden. It was forbidden, where like it was like this dirty secret, which is like, don't tell your mother.
Yeah, right.
So there was this sexy, like, what if mother finds out?
Okay.
But I think I had already had like the Alien Resurrection like toy. That was like one of my favorite. You know what I mean? So it was more like.
Yeah, because they sold toys of this shit.
Yeah. Awesome.
We
toys.
had like Rambo action
Oh, yeah.
figures.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
That,
RoboCop?
RoboCop?
Fuck
Yeah.
Action
Those RoboCop
figures
toys
of
are dope.
H.R. Giger's cock murder monster.
You're like, here you go, kids.
Like,
Look what you got for Christmas.
It
Yeah,
spits.
yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
It's crazy
Go
how
show your mother.
iconic. Clearly that it's so popular because you see it and it has that subconscious cock thing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
100%.
It's crazy that with Alien 3 they were like, we got H.R. Giger's cock monster is going to be a big hit. It's going to save the
Get
studio.
Kenner on the horn. Come on.
Yeah,
No Prometheus action figures? What the hell?
I know.
They didn't have action figures? Surely they
I-
did.
yeah.
I would
But-
assume that, like, who's that company that does the sculptures? It's
Was Super 7?
No, not Super
Sc-
7.
Oh,
There's
McFarlane.
Sideshow Collectibles,
But
yeah.
there isn't. Is it
NECA.
NECA.
Yeah,
That's
I could see
it.
NECA doing it, or
Absolutely.
Sideshow Collectibles doing it too.
Yeah.
But
So
I don't know if they did.
so you already had a action figure from Alien Resurrection.
From Resurrection.
Which
yeah.
one was it? Was it the
It was just
mutated?
it was just the standard like alien drone.
Wonderful.
Like
Oh,
the
okay.
classic. So
Great,
I was already like into the design. So it was never a scary movie for me.
Right.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was more like I was in it for the action. I was
Yeah.
like I was watching Star Wars.
But you
or-
hadn't seen Alien Resurrection though.
No, I saw that much later.
Right.
I
so
knew
you
the,
had
good.
This, you knew
I knew
it.
the plot, and so like that plot has never been like bizarre to me because I knew that from a young age. Like the clone Ripley, and she's half alien.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I was like, that sounds cool.
So you started there, like let's say with the whole Alien saga. That's
Yeah,
where you.
yeah,
That
I
was your
went-
introduction. Was
went-
Alien Resurrection?
Yeah, so I don't
That's
fully
cool.
understand how offensive it is. But watching it, obviously, it's like a bad film.
Right.
But the premise has never bothered me.
But the concepts are interesting. That's kind of like the Star Wars prequel thing. There's a whole group of kids that grew up with those movies.
Yeah.
And they don't think twice about it.
No.
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah, we were
No,
just
it's
talking about that.
burned into
The originality in those prequels.
It's wild, man. Don't get me started
yeah.
on that.
Oh, well,
I'll make you all believers.
I have some fan fiction I'd like you to read later that's relative to.
Oh, it sounds good. I'll do my George Lucas. Sounds great. But anyway, back to the matter at hand. We're talking about VHS tapes, and it's wonderful. It opens your world. You know? And for years, my Star Wars movies. Speaking of VHS, the original, the shit versions were available, and you can't find them now because I personally sent my people out to destroy and burn every single one of them. So good luck finding
You
that shit.
probably did. That's like finding the Death Star planes, the original
Yeah.
theatrical cuts being fucking
I think
destroyed.
I have them on VHS. I have the box set VHS widescreen of the original cuts, and they put them out in '92 with the hologram on the cover of the original poster for Star Wars, the first film.
Fuck, I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, I hang on to those dearly.
I had the 95 final THX before.
Oh, right.
And he was honest because he does say in those tapes, which were in 95, this will be your last chance to own.
This is it. You're not gonna.
Yeah.
That's it. Fuck you guys. I'm done.
Yeah.
Because I'm so sick of looking at this shit. And I get it, but
I get it, but you have to no one cared about the special editions until he said, and there'll be no other
Right.
versions. Because they were like, special edition, this is tight.
Yeah.
But when he was like, you'll also not see the original.
Fuck you, man.
Because that's half the reason you watch any film is the history lesson and just like the nostalgia of like seeing this.
It
Like,
is
in a
true.
theater, and so for him to be like, no more.
What was that Blu-ray print that somebody cobbled together? I can't remember the name of it. It's
The despecialized.
the despecialized
Yeah.
You take
versions,
the
yeah.
Blu-ray of the actors and the original cut effects and
Yeah.
splice them
I don't
into
know,
the
man.
highest
The
quality.
fucking gall, man. I mean, I get it. It's just so funny to me. I guess it's all out the window now, but I admire George. I mean, as an artist,
Yeah.
it's like, you know what? He's totally right. If that's what he wants, that's what he should do.
Sure.
But in the world that we live in, even Spielberg is like, listen, guys, I'm sorry about E.T. when I digitally removed the guns. I put the walkie-talkies, so I put back the original version, so you can watch that version too. It's going to be great.
Yeah, that's
so you
what
can have
I do,
both of
'cause
them
I'm
if you
not-
want. And George is out of his fucking mind. Sorry, I'm sorry. Anyway. And, West Side Story is a great movie. So unfortunately, it came out after that other movie, the Mexicans. There was another musical. There's another musical with Mexican people.
Like Canto?
So, the movie came out. El Canto. That was it. So you only fucking seen the movie. It's a great movie. But the kid in it is a rapist. I don't know. That's a fucking matter. It's $49.99 on Blu-ray. Guys, it's not me. It's Steven Spielberg. Come on.
Yeah.
But
Stevie.
I think to sort of bring it back to this, I think that when we're talking about Star Wars, it became very difficult to find the original versions on tape. And it was also very hard to find these movies that we're talking about on tape. You had to really kind of look for these things. It was a bit of a treasure hunt. But when you found it, like you said, it was like an amazing moment to come across something that you'd never seen before. And that's just not the way anymore. You just look it up real quickly and you can find it. It's all available for order.
Yeah, and that's why how poorly that's aged when they're like, own it now. Where that used to blow people's mind. I didn't realize the original Aliens VHS was $89.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it was like rental was like you can have it for a bid. This $100.
That's right.
And that's why I own it today. It seems so stupid now. Who gives a shit? But like it was like.
But I can have it. I can watch it all the time.
Yeah.
Watch it
Taking a
twice.
movie home because it was coveted. You saw it in the theater, then you never saw it again.
That's true. When I was a kid, that was it. That was the only way you could see a movie. And E.T. was actually one of the big ones because it was not on VHS
For
or
a
home
long
video
time.
for a long time.
Yeah.
That was one of the big ones that you just couldn't get. And you had to go see it in theaters. They'd reissue it in theaters. That's why during this pandemic, it's really funny and kind of heartwarming to see movie companies say, exclusively in movie theaters. And
I
you're
love
like,
that.
well, no shit.
Yeah, I love that. I got a chance to see Little Shop of Horrors with the original ending.
Oh, my God. What an ending. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago, and it just
Mm-hmm.
so happened to be in theaters, and I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. I just showed up, and it was on.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it was really nice to see that movie, because in the 80s, like, I had that movie on video, but I never got a chance to see it in theaters.
Right.
And E.T. was one of those movies that came out before I was born, and when it came out on VHS, I actually didn't give a fuck about it.
Right.
At all. Because I was
Your
watching
balls
movies
had
like...
dropped by then.
Well, no, not quite. I should have, but I grew up watching movies like Alien.
Right.
And Aliens.
Hell yeah.
Like,
It was, right.
my parents' friends and next door neighbors, they owned a video store in the 80s.
Oh, cool.
And so they would give us screener copies of everything.
Yeah.
And my parents had a VHS that you could tape. That was a 2 VHS.
Right.
And
You
so
could
you
make a
could
dub, yeah.
A dub.
Yeah.
And so we had dubs of everything, and there was
Oh,
all
yeah.
these screener copies that would pop up. Like, I can't not unsee Stand By Me without the Columbia Pictures
I know. Well,
plop up
yep,
that just
yep.
pops up for these screener copies, and in my brain, like, that's the way the movie is. That's the way the movie is.
Or recording them off of TV.
Oh yeah.
I was even a little cinephile back then when the first time they played Jaws on like network TV.
Big deal.
I would get very upset if
Oh.
I could time it so that when the commercial break started, I could tell when they were about to go to commercial break. So I would hit pause, and the VCR would always rewind about 4 frames. So you had to know to hit pause as the commercial was starting, and then I'd unpause it, and so you'd see it's called a break in control track. Do you remember this from the public access
Yes,
days?
I do.
So what it basically is you'd see this little rainbow line. After you'd unpaused, you'd see this rainbow line go through the frame, and you'd know that you'd done some kind of edit there. I would get so pissed off if there would be commercials in the shit that I would record. And I was recording Jaws, and I would only do it in SP. Everyone always crammed like 6 movies on a tape. And I was like, no, EP is wrong. It looks like shit. It's like 9-year-old me going, you don't understand. That's extended play, and it looks like crap. You want this SP mode because it's better. And so I was recording Jaws, and then I ran out of tape. And I was so upset because I didn't record the full movie. And my stepdad, he says, well, he's my dad. He said, he goes, well, why don't you just, when you write the name of it on the spine of the tape, why don't you just call it Jaw? Fuck you, Dad. Oh my God. This is bullshit. But we're talking about E.T. and how your tastes change. When E.T. came out in '82, it's very interesting you say that, because when that came out in theaters, there were these other movies that came out that are now well loved and went from cult status, like John Carpenter's The Thing and Blade Runner. These movies tanked.
Yeah.
People were like, that's really horrifying, disgusting stuff. We want this heartwarming movie about this little alien. But those movies went on because of VHS.
Yeah. Okay, that's because I
owed to that.
Yeah, I grew up watching The Thing over and over. Nobody told me these movies were horror movies, so as a kid, I just thought they were fucking great, you know?
Right.
They
Alien,
were fiction.
The Thing. My dad's favorite movie was The Thing, and he would talk about it all the fuck. My dad's not really a big movie fan, but he would talk about The Thing constantly.
Right.
So, yeah, but
because did he like westerns at all?
My dad?
Yeah.
I mean, my dad's like 72, so I think he probably grew up in the era of, he remembers the original Thing. And he was
Thing
like
from Another World.
Right. And he was like, I was a piece of shit. He's like, John Carpenter, on the other hand.
Piece of shit.
Yeah, he hated it. Yeah.
Piece of shit.
Oh, yeah.
That movie still scares the shit out of me.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
The original film
original.
is so scary because they show, I think it's James Arness who plays the creature, and it's this faraway shot. They don't really show the creature up close too much, but it's a faraway shot of the creature making his way through the snow toward the camp. And he's just like throwing dogs. Like dogs are coming at him, and he's just throwing them. I mean, I'm sure they're not real. Well, they probably were real dogs.
Yeah,
back
back
then.
then,
Who cares? Throw it, Jimmy. You got it. But it is so terrifying, and it still works. It still works.
Yeah.
You know,
You're
but
talking the original thing.
Yeah.
But John
I
Carpenter's
haven't seen it.
it's unbelievable.
It's a dense flick. I mean,
is.
there's a lot more going on than just the effects, like the layers
Absolutely.
of paranoia and
the paranoia.
I've always loved the film, but I've just now fully grown an appreciation for how dense it is.
Isn't that interesting? That's what, like, as you get older, like throughout the years, you keep revisiting a movie, and it starts to mean different things to you. You start to, because we got to replay these things over and over again.
Well,
you wouldn't have that if you saw the movie once.
Right. Yeah. Even now, I think about movies that every time I watch them, there's something that I always notice it. I hate to fucking plug it, but Hereditary.
Oh yeah.
Hereditary is
yeah.
a movie that I've seen probably 15 times, and every time not every time now, but for a long time, I would just pick up on all this weird shit.
Yeah.
And I was doing my best to stay off of YouTube just to feed my what am I missing here, and just looking it up and.
Well, that's interesting you say YouTube, because we didn't have that either back
No.
then. There was nobody telling you what you should think. You had like 4 critics,
Right.
Roger Siskel and Ebert.
But fuck those guys. I always took
Fuck those guys.
Well,
Their takes can be
but
really
serious.
well.
Well, the thing was we did have people telling us what to watch because
Right.
they worked at the movies at the video stores.
Sure.
And Joel behind the counter, who's 16 years old, where you're walking up with Evil Dead 2,
Right.
and they're like, "Oh, you ever seen Army of Darkness?"
Right.
No, I haven't. Oh, you got to get Army of Darkness too. Okay, cool. Like that these people that just randos that worked at these stores.
Who has replaced that guy in the culture? Just YouTubers?
Nobody.
Or?
YouTube.
I think it's YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good question.
It's funny, because we're talking about the movies when they get to video. What about the movies that were made for video and that whole thing?
Like American Ninja
like
3.
Carnosaur.
Oh, yeah.
all those, dude.
Oh, the Roger Corman stuff.
Feeders.
Oh, yeah,
New
sure.
Horizons home video.
Yeah, the Polonia,
the John and Mark Polonia, man.
You guys got to check out their films. They're amazing. They were somehow distributed across Blockbuster, right? All the Blockbusters.
Well, I had a chance to speak with these guys. So Mark and John Polonia are from Pennsylvania. And they started making horror movies, I think, in the late 80s, right? They're twin brothers. They started making horror movies shot on film, and then they started making movies shot on VHS tape, right? And I did a late-night horror movie show in Chino for a while called Schlock Theater, where I would, I had this little troll puppet, Timmy the Troll, that would sit on my shoulder, and I'd say, "Folks, we got another real crappy one for you tonight," because I grew up in Cleveland with all those late-night horror movie shows. And we had Superhost, Frank and Drac. Obviously, Elvira was syndicated. We had Big Chuck and Little John. We had Big Chuck and Houlihan. We had Ghoulardi, the Ghoul, Son of Ghoul. We had all. When I was a kid, it was amazing. It was all these shows where it was just some weird guy in a costume showing you crappy movies. That's how I found a lot of this stuff.
I love that shit.
But one of the movies, when I was working at Blockbuster Video, one of these movies came along that was called Feeders. And this was just before Independence Day came out in theaters. And so the cover of Feeders kind of looked like Independence Day. And based on that, Blockbuster said, "You know what? We're going to distribute your movie, boys." So this shot on VHS tape absolutely terrible. I mean, wonderfully terrible. One of the greatest films I've ever seen because it's so inspiring to me, with papier-mâché aliens, horrible dialogue, the worst effects you could ever imagine in your life. But these guys, they got a distribution deal with Blockbuster Video, and now Mark Polonia, because John sadly passed away several years ago, Mark Polonia is now like cranking out movies left and right, and they're all direct to Amazon Prime,
or Redbox,
like what Shark, like Amityville meets Sharks and Sharks of the Corn or something like that.
I gotta see his new stuff.
But,
That's cool.
he's making all the, you know what I'm talking about, like great stuff. I mean, it's not great, but it's so much fun to watch. So I called them one day. This is back when I found their number. Somehow I don't know how I found it, and I called up one of the Polonias and I said, "Hey, is it okay if we play feeders on our show?" And he said, "Yeah, man, go for it. I don't care, man."
Hell yeah.
And there's a book out right now. I think it's Bleeding Skull. There's a couple publications that Bleeding Skull puts out. It's a compendium of all of these kind of movies we're talking about, like straight-to-video stuff from the 80s, and the new one came out the 90s, and they have a whole tribute to the Polonias in there.
That's so cool.
But that's the shit that inspired us, because that's when you went, oh, shit.
I can do it.
You can do that. Whoa,
Yeah.
that was like, because Blockbuster called the shots, man. That was like the behemoth. These guys knocked down the gate with this shitty little movie. And the thing is, everybody rented it because they'd be like, I thought it was Independence Day.
Or the Independence Day was out.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like, well, fuck, this is close enough.
Might as
Feeders.
well. Oh,
Yeah.
it was so far from Independence Day.
They had a $500 budget.
Yeah.
Probably about as shitty, but with no budget.
It
Yeah.
actually might
Well,
be better.
better.
I think it's a better
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
There was a movie called Transmorphers that I remember people would rent thinking it was Transformers.
Oh, of
Right?
course, yeah.
You know, what the fuck? It's like Shia LaBeouf ain't in it. It sucked. I want my money back. Okay. But it says Transmorpher. Well, what's the difference? Transformers, Transmorphers.
It's almost like, I don't know if people are dumb enough to be fooled. It's almost like it's just in the spirit of like, I'm in a trans mood, you know, and
Yeah.
transmorphers.
That's
it.
You know what?
To
If they
quench
reissued
my-
it, they could really make some bucks. Holy
Oh
shit.
yeah. Oh totally. It is funny.
I was about finding your identity as a robot. Brilliant.
The first film I saw theirs was an urban horror flick that they did, and it was great because it was like them with other folks, and it was like because they stand out like a sore thumb. They're like, oh yeah, there's a killer on the loose right now, because they've got those great
They
just
both have
thick.
these like thick black mustaches. John would wear the white tube socks up to his knees.
They're wearing
And
shorts.
He had lines like, can't wait to get over to the ocean and check out those babes in those skimpy suits. And then the other guy goes, last time we ended up at a dyke bar with two lesbos who wanted to show us their trick ponies. Will you relax? It's like, what am I watching? And why can't I stop? Because it's great. That's why. But yes, like many films, the Polonias moved into the urban market, like Leprechaun in the Hood, right? And they did.
Classic.
They started, but they, to their credit, they actually they made a number of films with black actors that they just stepped back. They wrote the scripts and they directed. What was the one you saw?
Oh man, I wish I could remember the
It was
title.
like, stop or I'll
I think it
kill
was,
you.
Stop or
stop or my mom will shoot you,
yeah,
bitch.
something like that. And it was
It was-
so
it was
good.
the name, right? It was
Yeah, it
something
was
like that. Yeah,
genius.
yeah,
Yeah.
So there's so many movies. I'm looking up their
Dude,
filmography.
there's hundreds.
So there's
It's ridiculous. It's insane.
There's a lot of things in these movies that were, pretty offensive and maybe
Sharkula. That's coming out
There's
next.
that's the new one?
Sharkula.
Beautiful.
Anticipating a 2022 release.
Oh
It's
shit,
oh,
dude, still
they're
cranking
making
it.
Feeders 3.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Feeders, the
We-
final meal. It's
By the way, Feeders 2 was a Christmas movie, and it was called Sleigh Bells. SLAY.
Hell
Ooh,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and it's Mark's actual family. He cast his wife and his kids. They shot the
Perfect.
whole movie at their house.
so good.
It is one to be. It's one to be
You
seen.
got. I mean, we're not so different. He and I. You know, you got to just say, "Am I not? Am I not him?"
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Well, so
exactly.
Jackson, you grew up though with clean. You saw some clean flicks.
Yeah, as a boy, I rented some clean flicks, the very controversial edited
right.
versions of
Growing up in Utah.
R-rated films.
Yeah.
That's how I got a little Matrix Reloaded in me. Was the clean flicks. Get
Okay.
the titties out, the major flesh wounds.
All
the
gone.
holographic vagina, all gone.
So
I
Matrix
could
loaded.
So I could put off sexualization and
Yeah.
become, and just be a step behind the rest of the world
Right,
in terms
for the
of my
rest of your life,
sexuality,
your development.
relationships,
Great.
everything.
Yeah, wonderful.
So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for Clean Flicks for keeping.
But that was a company. Who was it? Like a group of mothers that got together and they would edit out.
I
stuff?
know it was based, I think, in Provo, Utah,
That
and I
makes
know they
sense.
got like the shit suit out of them.
They
But
did.
it was also like a point of pride for like my mom, or at least a defense mechanism where she was telling like a neighbor, like, "Oh, I rented him the Matrix. Don't worry, it's a cleaned up version."
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's
good.
okay,
Well,
good.
okay.
Yeah,
Well, thank
yeah.
God he's not looking at anything.
Founded in Utah, rented and sold commercially released DVDs and VHS tapes, which they had edited the content, which the company considered inappropriate for children, or that viewers might otherwise find offensive. Clean Flicks removed sexual conduct, profanity, and some references to deity, some violence from movies, either by muting audio or clipping entire portions of the track.
Yeah, they just.
Yep.
They would just splice
In
shit
2002, a group of major film production studios sued Clean Flicks, copyright infringement,
Good.
and in 2006, the court ruling closed the company. 2007, Clean Flicks reopened its website with movies you can trust, while legally enjoying from offerings and edited movies. An email sent to the company on that date indicated they had reviewed tens of thousands of movies and compiled over 1,000 that met their family-friendly criteria for sale and rent. In January 2013, CleanFlix.com website no longer exists.
And now known as Spotify.
Yeah.
The company became
Dude,
Spotify.
straight up.
Yeah.
Well, that is interesting because I really look. I know people have their preferred versions of movies, but yeah, nothing pisses me off more than when people are like, "Yeah, I went ahead and re-edited it. This is the better version." It's just like it's fine if you enjoy it on your own, but like to sell it as a fuck you to the people that made it. I get why they sued them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, it's
it wasn't out of love for the art.
No, it
like these
wasn't.
other re-edits of like the despecialized
Right,
version.
right.
That's like a real. This is just like we want the naughty bits out and
because it's wrong.
because
and
I
we determined that.
I want to take part in the culture, but I want to edit it
I'd love-
for
Right.
myself.
I'd love
Right.
to see the Pulp Fiction Clean
Oh my
Flicks,
God, it'd be
how
amazing.
short that film would be.
It's a 5-minute film.
Dude, so you worked at Blockbuster. You had some funny experiences there, I'm sure, right? There's some hilarity going on at the old Blockbuster.
Well, I remember I saw the writing on the wall when we got a movie in. It was David Cronenberg's Crash,
Oh,
yes.
which is a movie. If you haven't seen it, it is a great film. It's not a fun watch,
Yeah.
but it's a great film. And it's basically about a group of people who really get off on getting in horrible car accidents and having sex with one another. But that's the simple oversimplification of the movie. But it's a great film. James Spader, Holly Hunter. Anyway, this was one of the last movies to get the dreaded NC-17 label, which no one could ever figure out what to do with that. And so somehow, some way, when I cleared the first shelf for DVDs at Blockbuster Video back in '98, that was one of the titles that was up there. And it was one section of shelves, one small little section of shelves. Everything else was still VHS, and there were these DVDs.
And I chose Crash.
Yeah, Crash.
Wow.
There's The Mask and Crash. Take it home tonight and enjoy it in digital quality. So, but it had New Line Cinema had both NC-17 and R-rated versions, and there was a customer who came in who wasn't going to rent it, but happened to walk by that shelf, and I'm offended that this is here in the store. I want it removed, and that was one person that complained, and corporate acquiesced, and they removed it.
Then
And
don't rent it.
Yeah, don't rent it, right. If you don't like it, don't rent it, right. So,
Yeah.
and then I thought, well, that's crazy that they listened to this one person, and every store then, they didn't just get rid of it, they destroyed all copies like it was some, like burning a book or something.
Children
right?
could read the description.
Right.
You know?
Right, right.
Don't they have
Exactly.
a machine that basically shaves or like just like ruins the disc?
They did, yes.
'Cause
Yeah,
I've seen-
not in store, but I think you had to send it to the corporate office. It was in Dallas.
I believe
and
that
they
at a
would-
certain point in time, they brought those machines to the stores.
Really?
Because there's a YouTuber that I watched by the name of Wet Movie One.
Okay.
I've been watching this fucking guy for years. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I think mainly because he's a super hardcore movie buff.
right.
And he goes out to show you what the new releases were for the week.
Oh,
but
that's
he used to
cool.
work at Blockbuster as well.
Yeah.
And he had a video of him basically wiping discs.
Right. and then just all the information would just be gone.
Yeah.
Well, I grabbed that copy before they threw it away, and I still own the DVD. I proudly own it, and it makes me feel so good because it's like a fuck you to them. And the other thing that happened was after 9/11, right after 9/11, okay?
It's a great
this, like the
opener for
week,
anything.
right? Like this, the week of 9/11, we get a roll of stickers sent to us from the corporate office.
Oh my God.
And we had to go. My job was to go around the entire video store. This is absolutely true. And I was like, this isn't good for the future. Someone got upset because they saw the cover of Superman 2 or Superman, whichever one had the towers on it.
Yeah.
They were upset. They were triggered by it. We weren't using that word back then, but it was upsetting to them. They felt uncomfortable seeing it. So this woman would go around the store and would flip every cover box in every aisle that had a depiction of the towers on it.
Oh my
She'd turn it
God.
around so she wouldn't have to look at it. So they sent us a roll of stickers. Absolutely true. We had to put the sticker on any box that had the towers on it, and it was apologizing if the images on the box were upsetting to the customer.
No, that's terrorists winning. Right
Isn't
there.
that right?
Dude.
They
Leave it to
won.
Blockbuster.
And I thought, oh, well, that's just because this thing happened. That'll taper. And it just only got worse.
Yeah,
from
it
there.
never stopped.
But that's amazing that they did that.
Yeah.
And so, and I have to tell you, I did get written up for this, even though I was the manager. And I almost got fired for this, but I threw the whole roll of stickers away. And I told one of my employees to just stop, take them off. I'm like, we're not doing this. What are we doing here?
Stupid.
Why are we going to hold the hand of every single moron that comes in here because they can't handle other people's ideas or concepts? Just don't
From
worry
the
about
past.
it. From the past.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was
It's not
made.
their fault.
No, it wasn't like that rap album that came out on 9/11 where it was the towers
blowing
falling,
up.
Is that
which
right?
also,
Yeah.
which is also incidental. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
that kind of gets a pass
Great
too.
marketing.
Like,
though. I mean, my
Yeah.
God.
yeah, there's. This is we could talk endless. There's so much. You had a funny coworker though, right? That was a fan of your music at Blockbuster. Didn't you have a guy that liked your music?
Which guy? Was it
there's-
Juan?
Yeah.
There was a kid named Juan Cerna who used to hang out in front of the store. And we're really good. Like I still talk to him now, and he's since moved. This was in Brea, California. This was in Orange County, where I was working at Blockbuster Video. But he was a guy who just hung out in front of the store. Josh, I met him in like '97 when we were selling Lost World, Jurassic Park Lost World action figures on deep discount for like $2. Like, oh, it's a Jeff Goldblum action figure. I've learned about a little pterodactyl backpack that wasn't in the movie, but wasn't it fun? You're gonna launch a pterodactyl.
I would have loved this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Alan Grant's got he's got a thing that launches boulders. That wasn't in the movie either, but it's fun.
I would have let that dude molest
That was
me.
so good. So Juan would come in. He's an amazing guy. He's a genius. He really is a really amazing guy. And he would wear he had 5 layers of coats. And I immediately gravitated toward him because he was so cool and interesting. And he wasn't like all these, these really wealthy, like Orange County people that were renting there. They didn't care about film. They didn't care about culture. But Juan, man, he got it. He was always talking about, the Pope, he says that the world is ending, Josh. You better be ready. He would stand there, and we used to have DirecTV. Blockbuster would sell DirecTV for a while because they were running out of money. So they're like, you can get a DirecTV subscription and a bucket of popcorn. So we had a DirecTV in the store, and Juan would say, Josh, can I have the remote? I want to watch some TV. And he'd just watch the religious channel and watch everything the Pope would talk about. We'd talk about aliens, we'd talk about UFOs, we'd talk about all this stuff. And we just, so he would scare the shit out of customers because I knew him, but he looked pretty rough. He looked like he was homeless. He was not. But I loved when people would come in and say, I'm very uncomfortable. This young man with the multiple coats is making me concerned for my life. And I go, no, that's just Juan. Hey, Judge.
And Juan is caring about what the Pope is saying. They don't know Juan, Juan's a harmless fella.
Juan was a harmless fellow, but by the end, I didn't care anymore about my job. And Juan and I would just sit in the back and play Nintendo 64 because we'd rent all those systems. Josh, I need quarters up here. Yeah, whatever. Just go to the bank. Here are my keys. And we're playing Mario 64. But You know, but it was a magical time, and I just talked to Juan the other day, and he was very sad talking about this era, you know, because I left Blockbuster in 2002, and he was very distraught and just sad and melancholy, thinking about the old days, you know, how much he missed VHS tapes and how much he missed the camaraderie that the employees had there. And he and I were like the, you know, Orange County Jay and Silent Bob. We'd hang out in front of the store all day long. And it was really a communal experience. That's the one thing we haven't kind of touched on, is like you'd go there and everyone was just there. That was like the thing you did.
Yeah.
I mean, is that what it was like for you guys? Like on the weekends, you'd go and
everybody, you'd run into friends from school
right.
or whatever. It was
Meet
very
women.
dude.
I
I
wouldn't
met
go
a lot
that
of
far.
ones.
I remember I saw my friend's mom with another guy.
Oh, is that right?
Story, yeah, not her husband.
God
yeah,
damn.
yeah. So they were renting
That was
something
Juan
about
Cerna.
Mary too.
That guy was Juan Cerna.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey,
don't tell the husband.
Yeah. People in small towns thinking they can get away with public adultery. It's
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
what was your plan?
I know, dude. It was like, yeah, they were like macking down, and then I remember I saw her like see me, and she like disappeared into the porno section.
yeah.
Yeah,
You saw it
You ain't
because you were
coming
naughty.
yeah. Well, so you know, there's eons. We have to do another one of these because there's talking about
Yeah, because we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but there was a huge jump when it came from VHS tapes to the switch to DVDs.
Right.
And I think that's kind of when everything started to die. Like Blu-rays, you could still get Blu-rays in the beginning, but everything was starting to kind of change as Blu-rays became the thing.
Right.
But yeah, man, those stores really changed my life. And you know, it's weird. I didn't really run into too many people at the video store because growing up, I preferred to go to this place called Sterling Video, which was a very small video store.
Yeah.
It had everything that you would ever want and need. But I preferred Sterling over everything else because of, number one, Joel. Like, that was a real guy, Joel Foresti.
That's the guy that was the owner?
No,
That
he was one of the guys that worked there.
The one that worked there, right?
Yeah, and like he was my neighbor. Plus, he would rent me whatever and put me. He knew what I wanted to watch, what I
Right.
should be watching.
Right.
So it's weird. I think about this guy Joel, and even down to like what I wear to this day, whatever was cool with Joel, I thought was cool.
Right.
And this is going into like my 20s. So
Right.
yeah, like even I don't know. I feel
What
like
year was that? I mean, when you were
is
at that
like-
video store, what year?
So I started renting movies at about 8 years old, which was 1990.
Oh, wow.
All the way, or maybe even younger, because it was a short bike ride to the video store.
Right there.
Sterling, yeah. And then when Sterling closed down, there was a better one that opened up called Silver Screen Video,
Oh, that
which was
sounds
Yeah, it sounds legit.
Silver Screen was basically like, it was bigger than Blockbuster.
Right.
It was way better than Blockbuster. Everybody that worked there gave a fuck. There was two guys that worked there, and I remember their names. It was Bill and what the fuck was the other guy's name? John Bomar. And those guys were the shit.
They
And
knew.
eventually, my old boss married Bill, and he would hook me up, like, because he was still working there. He worked there forever. And he would like hook me up whatever like, you know, hey, the 20th anniversary of Back to the Future's coming out on DVD.
Right.
You want it? I'll get it to you for cost.
Ah, it's the best.
It was the shit. So like,
Wow.
Bill was the fucking homie, but Bill and John worked there forever, and they had the best movie recommendations.
See, that's great. You didn't have a.
I
you weren't
wanted
able-
to.
yeah,
I
you
wanted to.
couldn't
I
go, though.
couldn't get the job. I
Right.
couldn't get the movie store job. But I
You
put
wanted
it-
to work there.
Yeah.
Right.
As a high schooler, that's like
Sure.
a dream job. That would have been something I could have excelled at, but I probably would have been too much of a prick to the customers. Just like, are you fucking kidding me?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, because like
Yeah.
a lot of times people want like the worst pieces of shit
Right.
ever. They're like,
Yeah.
where can I find a copy of Speed? You're out of the copy of Speed that I really wanted to see.
Well,
like,
a lot
fuck
of
you.
I
they
love
go a little
Speed.
easy on speed.
Metro. No, it was more like.
Speed too.
Do you have Metro with Eddie Murphy?
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
Sure we
Metro.
do.
Yeah,
Get the fuck
Yeah.
out.
you know,
Yeah.
it's
Get the fuck out.
Not anymore. We don't.
But for every 10 of those people,
Right.
there's somebody like us that really wants some weird fucking movie that they're like, oh, I'm getting this. Oh, you should check out this.
Well, I would try to do that at Blockbuster until the very end. I would explain to people what widescreen was and what
Right.
letterboxing was.
Yeah.
I would explain to them that, you know, the TVs are going to change the shape. Because back then they weren't rectangular,
No.
you know, so you're trying to fit a rectangle into a square. How do you do that? I'm trying to give them like simple math and geometry. What are you talking about? but there were a lot of people that appreciated that, and there was this little old lady that used to come in and request that I walk the new release wall with her and tell her what what good new indie films were that had come out. There was a movie with Bill Paxton, rest in peace. There was a movie called Traveler with Bill Paxton. It was a really great little independent film. And so once I recommended that to her, she started trusting my opinion. And that was one of the nice things, was to try to, because Blockbuster would fill one wall with one movie title at the expense of all these other movies. But usually the fifth or sixth shelf down all along the wall were the single titles where you could find some really good stuff. You know, so I did try to do that, to bring some culture to that place.
Right.
But ultimately they were undone by their lack of vision in not purchasing Netflix and not being a part of that deal. And that was their undoing, you know. But there are places that, like Vidiots we mentioned.
Videotech in South Pass.
Right.
I think I think it's because we're at an age where like people that grew up with that stuff are they're running things, so they're going to remember those moments, and there is going to be a future for stuff like that. If you want it, I mean, dude, there was nothing better than having that human connection, going and getting recommended a movie. I mean, this is a funny another human interaction that you wouldn't get these days from Redbox or Amazon. But I was looking for the 1980s Blob, and this was in 2005. So it's like before, you know, there was still some mystique a little bit to what video store might have it. But I was calling video stores, and there's this big town video in Montclair, Pomona, and I called and I'm like, "Do you guys have the Blob?" The Blob. He's like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "What is Blob?" And it was on speakerphone, and everyone just laughed at me and kept repeating, "What is Blob?"
Blob, what is he talking about?
Yeah, but they had the Garbage Pail Kids flick there, which I was seeking out, and I went over there, and then the guy was like, "What are you talking about, Garbage Pail Kids?" I'm like, "One of your employees told me there's a Garbage Pail Kids," because my friend had exaggerated the amount of eccentric, like, cool movies, because at the time YouTube was brand new. You had to seek this stuff out. But there's so much. I mean, we could go on forever. Movies, you know, are a big part of all of our lives. There's a big fan group out there, like we said, that like to make their own versions of movies.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. That was a great segue. I hate to fucking derail it.
No, it's all right.
Fuck, man. I just wanted to say, like, I feel like there's a part 2 to this episode where we talk about where DVDs became the thing.
It would be fun to talk about the decline, or
there was a whole switch that happened, and I feel like the second part of video store history is just as important as the first, and we went pretty VHS heavy.
Yeah, and I think also talk positively about it, because for collectors like us and people who remember these films, it's a great time to be alive, because Blu-ray has made it, and a lot of these companies, like you said, these people grew up and now run their own companies, like Severin and Synapse and Shout Factory. Severin is my favorite, and they're restoring all these films, and they're giving you more information about these films than we ever had before, not just for us, but so future generations will be able to find these things, and maybe it will inspire other filmmakers. Honestly, I would love that.
Which is a great segue into part 2 when we talk about the DVD special features, which changed my fucking life.
Totally, man.
To this day, I still seek out all the special features. But
I mean,
there's a lot of people that. Sorry, Robert.
Which is a great segue to, if you want to make your own film.
So there's a lot of people.
There happens to be a group of fans, Robert, that you were talking about.
yes, that write their own stories. We've had a segment. At the infancy, Josh was one of the first people I had on the show. We did this great episode, talked about carnivals and all that stuff, but we touched on some Disney erotica. But at the time, I was rushed and on copious amounts of Adderall, so I didn't have a complete story. I feel like now, well, this is also a Clean Flicks version, but this is something I dug up, and there's this is from it's called One Padme, Two Wookiees, and it's by Stargate Fan 0 LDS.
Okay.
But there's different voices that they had for you. But I think it's a beautiful thing. There's someone out there that this is their vision of Star Wars, what they would have loved to see.
In episode 9?
This would be episode in between 2 and 3, I think.
Okay.
All right. So you have legal clearance for this? I'm just
Yes.
busting your ball. I don't give a shit anymore. I don't own any of this shit. I don't care. Did you see that Boba Fett? Oh my God! I was like, yeah, John, you're doing a great job. And wait, you just took a shit on it again? Fuck off! I'm just kidding. All right.
One Padme, Two Wookiees by Stargate fan olds. Padme was nervous. She had been sent to Kashyyyk on a very important diplomatic mission. With the Clone Wars raging throughout the galaxy, the Wookiee homeworld was getting more and more cut off from the inner core. The Wookiees were too valuable of an asset to let fall into the hands of the Separatists. And while Padme didn't believe that the Wookiee would outright betray the Republic, she feared that they may withdraw their support if they are not shown any support. After all, you cannot expect the Wookiee to sacrifice themselves for the Republic. If they're completely engulfed by the Separatists, then they might very well join them to protect their people.
Yes, that's true. Chewbacca had been assigned her guard, and when she arrived on the planet, yes, it was a green planet. He had silently followed her ever since. Padme had a lot on her mind and on her heart. Oh, yes, her heart was beating, because it was like when George Bush got the call on 9/11. Sure, he was reading a storybook about a goat to a group of kids. There was too much at stake here, and we're not talking ribeye. Very nice, very good. Adam and Eve took the rib in the eye. But with 3PO powered down and charging for the night, Chewbacca was a massive wall of muscle and fur. Ooh, slightly taller than Gina Davis. Yes, and was 7.5 feet tall. It's very, very tall. It was yes. Oh gosh, such memories. Making the fly, to hang upside down during coitus. Sure. Over 2 feet taller. Oh, I just spilled that. Oh fuck. Oh, gosh. Well, there's stains on the rug already. It seems like it wouldn't matter. I'm so sorry. She would need a stool if she wanted to look him in the eyes. She's talking about Chewbacca, or lean down a little to do some other more suggestive things. Meanwhile, back on Tatooine, a clone of Darth Maul is planning to come back. And what you don't realize is he has a whole arsenal of droids by his side ready to attack. He now has robot legs that can fly as well. He has a dark heart, much like the fallen angel Lucifer. Very similar in theme. Mythology, it's Dante's Inferno. This is where most of this comes from. But most people don't realize that Darth Maul was related to Darth Hall and Darth Roll and Darth U-Haul. That's a joke, but obviously, the idea is in Star Wars to bring a little levity. So you want to have a dance number or jokes like that. But Darth Maul was related to Roll and Hall. They were the most powerful in all the dark forces of the Jedi. As he gears up for a comeback, Padme is getting acquainted with a Wookiee diplomat and Chewbacca. So the. Let me just say this here, man. The Wookiee didn't last much longer than Padme. And with a roar, he began to come inside of Padme, just pumping shot after shot into her bum. That's her backside, man. Because in the Wookiee community, man, when they copulate, it's from the back. It's not from the front, man. Because they don't have privates. They only have anuses. But if you knew your Kashyikian lore, but he filled her...
I'm gonna step in here. This is so much better than Boba Fett.
And filling her third and final hole to the max is his massive knot, keeping the cum locked inside until he finished. This is like if you've ever seen ducks when ducks have sex. The male duck, his penis is like it's like a coil, and it has razors on it. so that the female cannot escape until coitus is done. So what we have here is the Wookiee has pulled his hair knot free from Padme's arsehole. This is British. Causing his cum to gush out as he let the exhausted senator collapse to the ground, completely worn out, and with all 3 holes pumped full of cum. That's Wookiee cum, man. Does this mean that the Wookiees will continue to support the Republic, or do we need to continue negotiations? Said a tired Padme as she barely lifted her head to look at. They got Tarful in here. They got Captain Tarful, and I know what that means. Goodbye, Captain Tarful. Barry lifted her head to look at Tarful and Chewbacca, causing both Wookiees to chuff with laughter.
Padme would go on to have a polyamorous relationship with Annie Skywalker and the 2 Wookiees. Little known fact, using all the cum of their midi-chlorians, they made a long-lost Wookiee, Jedi royal mix named Narf.
Oh, no.
Narf also resembled Dominic Toretto of the Fast and Furious fame. When you hear your family.
I just want to make it very clear that I didn't write any of this.
Yeah.
This was Stargate fan fold.
Yeah.
You didn't riff any of that.
I did.
Because I was trying to figure out the percentage of riffing, because I know there was some riffing.
Oh, there was
Yes.
about, I think most of it I read as written.
Yeah.
Arsehole.
That last line
but-
was
but-
not you. He said it also resembled
Dominic
Toretto.
Toretto of the Fast and Furious fame.
With a lot of fan fiction, there's a lot of Dom Toretto.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And
Yes.
Jack Sparrow. I'm surprised Jack Sparrow didn't make it a.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I have like a telekinetic influence on some of these guys. So yeah, but dude,
Where do you get who sends these?
Yeah, where are you going? To? Is this you?
There's
Some Reddit.
a little bit, but there's the deepest incel pit of poetry and fan fiction erotica. But that was beautiful, man. That was so good.
I
Thank
did
you.
enjoy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Expounding on the Wookiee mating, I did talk about. I did add that and the stuff about the ducks and the coitus. That was very upsetting, and also something I'd like to see. It seems like a fun. Well, actually, now that I've read it, I actually really like it, and I'd like to make it into a trilogy of films.
Howard the Duck too. A lot of duck cock.
Yeah, there is duck cock. It's true. Yeah,
The duck cock stuff is in there.
It is in there, yeah. Leah Thompson. No, that I made up. The duck cock stuff, of course, that's gold. But Leah Thompson, I remember when we shot. I was on the set of Howard the Duck, and we had a whole rig set up. Well, the whole effects guys. And they said we've got a corkscrew. We can just put some feathers on it because it was all in shadow. So it was like, oh, they're like kind of shadow puppet, see like a duck penis. But they didn't let us do it. But we got the duck tits in there. The scene where you see the Playboy magazine, we got duck titties in there. So,
Dude, I'll never forget that.
George is a bit of a pervert.
He is.
George, but it doesn't sell well. Like THX, there's a machine that like jerks him off. Star Wars Holiday Special, Chewie's Dead, like watches.
Oh, that's true. Well, yeah, the idea of virtual porn is fun for me.
Yeah.
And I actually
It's ahead of the time, even in his masturbation.
I added that pumping machine. I added that in the special edition of THX.
That was a special.
It wasn't actually there. I actually put it in.
I remember that. The jerk off scene was like this.
In case you didn't understand that's what was happening there.
Because he added the arm that jacks
Yeah.
him off.
Yeah,
He wasn't jerked off by a robot before?
No. He was just sitting there kind of like enjoying it. And George was like, let's really drive this home.
Wasn't there like a jerk off machine in Earth Girls Are Easy?
Oh, was there? It's been a long time
know.
since I've seen that.
I think
my
I think
interpretation
Naboo
as a
girls
kid.
are easy after that reading.
Oh, yes.
Dude.
Blue. Yes. I was in that movie. I remember.
Blew it
Yes,
all
I'm
over.
in that movie, Earth Girls. That's.
Oh yeah.
I met Gina Davis. We did a movie called Transylvania 665.
Yes.
500 with Ed Begley.
Yeah, that was on all the time.
I have it on VHS.
Yeah.
Oh, very exciting film.
That was
Dude.
another one. This was on HBO free preview like constantly.
Always.
Inner Space. There was these.
Inner Space.
Yeah, Inner Space
Yeah.
is on all the
I
time.
love that movie.
It was movies that
It's
like
great.
bombed, but we're still decent enough to be on HBO constantly?
Well, it's interesting you mention that because one of the new series I'm working on is the idea. Well, the new series of Star Wars films was supposed to be the microbial world of the Force. You know, the midi-chlorians. But it's sort of like inner space in that what happens is, what you don't realize is a Sith Lord is he's shrunk down to microscopic size to commune with the midi-chlorians. And through a series of hapless, errors or pratfalls, he ends up being injected into the butt cheeks of a Jedi. And so what happens is you've got Jedi and Sith who have to work together now to help this Sith Lord navigate inside his body. And that's how he learns about the Force until eventually he expels him, Montezuma's Revenge or something. He just takes a big shit. But I think you've now helped me understand what the second part of this film is going to be.
Well, I'm glad.
Just Wookiees fucking.
Yeah. Dude, well, guys.
Martin Short can make another appearance.
Yeah, I think he'll do it.
Dennis Quaid.
As a Wookiee.
But his
He's
face
like a
will turn
little-
eating ass with the Martin Short sounds.
I like that. This guy's good. Put him on the payroll. This guy's great. That's a great idea. Somebody get Doug Chang in here and let's draw up some of this stuff. He's a great artist, but
Dude, there was we can end on another fun story. But when you were doing, was it the sound for the pilot for the show at Skywalker Sound? Was that when you pranked the sound guy for Star Wars?
Yeah, I made I call it a comedy special now because it didn't sell. So I go, nah, it's just a one-off comedy special. But it was a TV pilot, a comedy variety thing. It was like Mr. Rogers in outer space. If Mr. Rogers was a alcoholic or like a Dean Martin type, and Robert was in it, and a bunch of our friends got together and shot it. And it's such an amazing thing. Never spend your own money on your own pilot. But it was well worth it, and it looks amazing. However, the greatest part of that for me, one of the best parts, was we got to mix the sound, thanks to our director, Kamel Alloway. We got to mix the sound at Skywalker Sound. So I'm at Skywalker Sound on Skywalker Ranch, and we stayed there for a couple of nights. Was it like a night or 2 nights?
Yeah, I think you were there for 2 nights. I didn't get to go. Dummy, but yeah.
It was really something. And so, but you got to preview the final mix in the THX theater, the actual THX theater where they will, screen their films for the final certification. And 2 things happened. Ben Burt, who is probably one of the greatest sound editors of all time, did all of the Star Wars films, the originals and the prequels, and also did the voice of Wall-E. He's a genius, he's a legend. He saw some of it and said, George would really love this. So funny. This is so great. George would get a kick out of it. Because in the pilot, I played George Lucas at the ranch, and I'm in full makeup, prosthetic makeup, and there's girls in bikinis at a pool, and it's just like, take a shit in the pool, do whatever you want. It's really fun. But anyway, so he loved it. But the best part was his protege, and now equal genius, Matthew Wood, who plays
General
Grievous, the voice, and is also Bib Fortuna in the prequels in the body, physically.
I didn't know
he's a great sound editor, and they were mixing the new Star Wars movie at that time. Force Awakens hadn't come out yet, and they were working on it. And so the guys over there said, it'd be funny if you if you call him right now as George Lucas and tell him on the down low that you want to make a couple of quick changes. And so I call this guy and I'm like, hey, Matt, how's it going? Yeah, listen, I know this is real last minute, and don't tell Kathleen Kennedy about this, or JJ. He's going to get all upset. He just gets all crazy about this stuff. I just thought it'd be interesting if we put, just in one little shot, I know you guys can do it. I know you can do it because it's impossible. That's how I know you can do it. That's kind of shit he would always say. If you could put like a Gungan in there, it doesn't have to be Jar Jar, but if you could have some kind of Gungan in there, can you work a Gungan in there? This guy sounded like, he was like, wow, I mean, George, the picture's locked. I know, I get it, but this is Daddy talking here. Come on. And then I said something like, well, maybe we get started on Red Tails 2 or something after that. And the guy
The guy, and then eventually he's like, "Who the fuck is this?" And he was such a good sport about it. But that was a real dream come true, just to be there. And the best thing of all was when George Lucas, his son Jet, I call my son Jet Lucas. Isn't that funny? Cool kid. He watched the deep fake videos that I did as George Lucas, and showed his dad. And so Lucas, somebody from Lucasfilm, a guy that I know, who creates a lot of their animated stuff, is an amazing writer, producer. He contacted me and said, George saw your deep fake stuff and he thought it was hilarious, but he can't say that publicly. But he thought it was hilarious. And I was like,
dude,
wow.
that is so awesome.
He saw
So anyway,
the video.
he watched
of you
it.
as George.
Yeah, and he loved it. So I
He's
was
a
like,
dirty
"What
boy,
Yeah,
dude.
that's
He
it.
gets
So
it.
to your
Yeah.
point, George like gets it. He's a great sense of humor, and I love that he was basically saying like, I totally agree with everything you're saying about the new movies,
Fucking amazing.
but I'm not gonna fucking say that.
Oh,
Dude.
those
Man,
are
he
great.
called them white slavers.
He did.
Yeah.
Disney's a bunch of white slavers. Like, yeah, you're right. You're right, George. You're right.
Dude, I don't know. This has
Sorry,
been.
I didn't mean this devolved into George Lucas.
No, it's okay.
no,
It's
dude,
a great
this is-
experience.
I fucking love it.
It's so
Yeah,
wild.
this has been an amazing show. We'd love to have you back for the DVD
Oh, that'd be so great.
section, maybe.
That'd be so great.
That's not
history.
Gonna happen.
Yeah, okay.
It's been
Well,
really fun.
but thank you though. Thank you for being here. Yeah,
No, this was really fun, man. Yeah, it's a thing that's close to my heart, and I've sort of slowly started recreating the video store in my office. I've got a lot of really rare, weird videotapes that we'll talk about next time. But I do want to get into these other companies that are keeping this alive, man. It's
Yeah.
really great. It's really special.
Are you like actively still buying VHS out there, or kind of?
No, it's really hard to find now, and if
Yeah.
you do, they're very expensive. But they
pay.
do have collectors that get together in different places, and they set out big tables of all their stuff. I don't know where or how or when, but
Yeah, I watch some of these people on YouTube, and but I know a guy that's a big VHS collector that I feel like you would hit it off with him really well.
yeah.
He's a prop builder mostly. He does kind of everything. His name's Max Winston. You know Max
That
Winston?
sounds familiar.
He goes by Mad Max Winston.
What is he? I know that name.
He's done a bunch of commercial work. He does stop motion. He kind of does. I'll show you one of
Stop
his videos.
motion maybe is how I know him.
Probably. I feel like you and him
Max
would
Winston.
really click.
Yeah,
on some
cool.
shit.
Cool.
But he's a big VHS collector. He's got some fucking. But he also does events from time to time.
Okay.
I think with COVID, a lot of that stuff just hasn't really come back yet.
Yeah, it all kind of stopped, and I think also you were really lucky as the video stores were closing.
Yeah.
If you could go get in there, and I bought a bunch of stuff from Video Box, because like that one guy you were describing, he was like, I don't care, take it. What,
Yeah.
the hanging woman? This is shit.
Yeah.
Alien spawn, $2, shit, take it. I'm like, this is gold, sir.
Yeah.
Zombie Lake, what? Nazis and zombies? Bullshit. I own it.
Yeah.
But it is a source of pride, and even though the Blu-rays are great, and I love seeing the newly restored prints, I really love all that stuff. Nothing beats the shitty VHS and the sound of that engine whirring, those little heads,
Beautiful.
the motors. Yeah,
The beautiful wine.
it is.
of the past.
Yeah,
Well,
fantastic.
it's been an epic episode, and it's been a beautiful experience,
Oh, it's never
fellas.
gonna end.
I'm about
Jesus
to. I know. I'm gonna wrap it up here.
Fuck.
But Josh, where can the folks follow you online?
You know, I'm debating. Should I be on TikTok?
Why not?
Do it. Fuck
you
it.
should.
I don't know, man. I don't
Place
know.
everything everywhere. Fuck it.
I guess that's what I would do. I'd
Yeah.
put clips. I might be on TikTok someday, but for now, Instagram, JRT Show, or you can just go to my website, The JRT Show. You'll find me. You'll find
Hell
me.
yeah, dude!
It's all there.
It's awesome, man. It's been a pleasure to have you on the program again. It's been a pleasure to have you again, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. We're gonna have to watch Clean Flicks. Into the Enter the Void or something sometime soon. And Ross,
Wow.
where can folks find you, sir?
Well, I would say Camp Jackie on Instagram.
Oh, that's right. Yes, Jackson.
Camp
yes.
Jackie on YouTube.
Okay.
Because there was already a Camp Jackie on there.
That
Oh,
nightmare.
damn.
Which it also works.
I think,
love
well,
it.
it is the camp stand. It was originally a joke, like it's Camp Jackie, camp kids,
Right,
you know.
yeah.
But camp, it also refers to. They're very campy.
Right.
I like that.
Love
Yeah.
it. Well, you can find me where all the links are down below in the description of wherever you're watching this or listening to this. Bam, 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 bam.
Yeah, well,
That's where I am.
man, and you can find me at Robertland Podcast everywhere. And guys, it's been a blast, really. Au revoir, everybody. And life is a ride. I'm gonna ride it all night long.